I'm sure an awful lot of research went into actually producing this book. How long did it take you?
About 4 or 5 years. Been working on the monuments for about 10, and then writing on them for about half that time. Obviously, COVID intervened. Archives were closed. Couldn't get to the material that I needed. But yeah, it's been a long process, but highly significant. The first publication on the Abbey's history for 20 years. So yes, hugely significant day for the Abbey.
Why did you think a book on memorials was so necessary, and why now?
So it forms the last part, I suppose, of the jigsaw footprint that is the legacy of conserving the monuments in our time. So there was no good history of the monuments, and through the last 5 years, through Footprint, we've learned a huge amount about the monuments and really got into the archives, both here at the Abbey and nationally, to tell the story of this unique collection for the first time.
Why does Bath Abbey have so many?
So it's a twofold story. Many people have heard of Henry Harrington talking about the walls of Bath Abbey being monument and dust, showing how Bath waters served to lay the dust. So there is that story of the waters here drawing sick and very rich people who wanted to be commemorated. But also the untold story is that the Abbey and the city consciously chose to bury and commemorate people within the walls when they could have bought burial land outside the church, because it was good for the revenue of the church, and then that revenue could be used for the repair of the building more widely and the mission of the parish.
What do these memorials say about the people that they represent, that they, I'm looking for the word, it's been a long day, that they memorialize?
So one of the main misconceptions of these monuments is that a person thinks, oh, I would like to be commemorated in such a way. No, these are commissioned by executors largely, and they show a kind of idealization of a particular person, both in the symbolism that is found in the monuments and in the words which are used. In the cheaper, more common monuments, it's highly generic language. You'll find these type of monuments across the country. And in the more unique monuments, you have that unique symbolism which does tell us particular stories about particular individuals.
How many are there altogether?
Altogether, we have over 1,500 monuments in the church.
Wow.
That's the largest number in any church in the UK, probably in the world. Almost 900 on our floor, the ledger stones, 891, and 635 monuments around our walls.
It must be very difficult for you to pick out any gems, but I'm sure there are some. Can you, off the top of your head, think of any monuments, any memorials that do stand out for you?
I mean, the history of the writing on the monuments have been talking about the great and the good. So, for example, the Waller tomb that's just here, the Montague tomb, and some of the more significant monuments created by London sculptors. What the book also seeks to do is to get beneath the surface of the less commonly written about monuments. So monuments which have commemorated mothers or wives, the more common monuments, and to tell the stories of people of the city, not just the well-to-do who came to Bath.
What do they say about Britain, empire, and slavery? I know you've got to be very sensitive about that today.
So, of course, we have monuments that commemorate those that were involved in the British Empire and slavery in a variety of capacities. That might be people that owned plantations or helped in the administration or governance of the empire, military men, navy men who helped to protect the commerce of the empire, and indeed those that were directly involved within the slave trade itself. So a monument, for example, to Bartholomew Stibbs in the North Transept is to a man who you wouldn't, there's no indication on the monument that he was involved in the slave trade, but he was heavily involved in the slave trade out of West Africa, in the Gambia, and was personally responsible for enslaving and trafficking people to America.
How do you feel now it's done, and in your hand you're holding the finished product?
Well, this book isn't meant to be an exhaustive study of the monuments. It's a historical framework that draws together on much unpublished material from antiquarian surveys, newspaper articles, art prints, poetry, novels, any kind of writing on the monuments over 400 years to give a framework for future historians who want to look at the monuments in any way that they would choose to. That kind of background, that scaffolding for them to do more detailed thematic studies themselves.
A monumental job well done, Oliver. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.